Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another review. I haven't done a review in a long time, and this right here is my review, is my late overdue review of the 2017 film Justice League. I have a lot to say about this film, a lot of good and a lot of bad, but I've been waiting for this film for a long time, even before the DCEU was announced. Since childhood, I've been waiting for a live action Justice League film. And while the film was not bad, it was decent. It was decent, especially I've watched the film about 7 times, and the last 4 times were the best. Cause yeah, I planned to watch this film in theaters when it first came out. However, I've been dealing with a lot of personal issues, and I usually go with my dad to see these films. I'm currently angry with my dad for multiple things, so unless it's an emergency, I kind of don't want anything to do with my dad or my mother either. And there was a friend of mine, and there was a friend of mine who I was hoping to see it with. He was busy, and he once again beat me to it and saw it um, without me. I wanted to see these films with him, but but he he beat me to him, and he beat me to him. So I chose, so since I couldn't get out, and also the theater closest to me, that's actually in walking distance. Here in Georgia, there's a theater, there's a theater inside the mall closest to me. They've just closed down for the second time, so leaving me with no choice but to find an illegal stream online. And the first time, the film was it was mad, but mostly because the version I watched didn't do it justice. Justice League is one of those films you definitely need to watch in theaters. The version was what you call it. The second and third times were a little bit better. Were a little bit better. And the last 4 times were awesome. They uploaded a better quality version. There were still people laughing and people walking during the movie, but the quality was at least the quality was at least better. And yeah. But the problem I had with this movie, before I get to the good stuff and then the bad stuff again, I'm gonna start off with the bad stuff. The first problem I had with this film was this film was there was this film has been hyped up for like a year now. Has been have been in production for like a long time, and they put in Warner Brothers. I heard there was some creative differences behind set. Of course, Zack Snyder, A Death in the Family, forced him to step down. Um, there was some creative differences that caused Josh Whedon to rip the film before he was even released. So a lot of bad things went on behind the scenes, but this film has been in development for a long time, and what you put out was a decent but bland, generic superhero movie, and that's not what Justice League is supposed to be. A bland, generic, forgettable. I forgot that word. Forgettable superhero movie. This movie hasn't even made 7 million at the box office yet. This movie has been in production for a long time. Everyone has been waiting for this, and just some of the creative decisions. That was the first bad thing. I'm gonna get to the other bad stuff. Right now, I'm gonna talk about the good from this film. Um, Before I get to the good, and see, this time I can't defend this. This is why it took so long with this review. I can't defend DC on I can't defend DC on this one. I've been aggressively for a year now from since 2016, since BVS, since Batman v Superman, have been aggressively defending the DC cinematic extended universe, hyping it up, talking about what DC does better than Marvel. But this time, I like Justice League more, but Thor Dark World was a better film. Justice League was a better comic book movie to me, but Thor Dark, not Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, yeah, that film was a better film, was a better film, was a better film, and now and Justice League has nothing on the Avengers Infinity War coming next year, and Justice League is now an afterthought and has been forgotten, and Justice League shouldn't be that. This is the Justice League. They shouldn't be that, man. They haven't even made 7 million at the box office. So yeah, that's the number one bad thing. Now let's talk about the good stuff first. Firstly, the firstly um the two best things about this film are, first off, the CGI. The CGI. I've heard people complain about unfinished, uneven, terrible looking CGI. No, the CGI is awesome. As what a Justice League film, a comic book film should look like. Next is the action. And yes, they have Justice League DC comic book action. This was the one thing I loved about DC over Marvel, over the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One thing I like and can't stand at the same time about Marvel Cinematic Universe, of course, Marvel, they like to water down the superheroes. Characters like Iron Man, Loki, the Incredible Hulk, Thor, Ronan, Korath, Quill, Drax, the Destroyer, Gamora. These characters are insanely powerful in the comic books. Here, you don't see much. You don't see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you don't see much of that. Now, part of the reason is they try to ground everything in realism. That's a good thing, and that's also a bad thing. The good thing is you get to choreograph beautiful, epic fight scenes, epic, realistic fight scenes. The bad thing is that it's one of the problems I had with Marvel is, and one of the things I loved about DC, the DC Extended Universe, Warner Brothers, DC, they make comic book movies. They take stuff as it was in the comic book and put it onto the big screen. That was the one thing I always loved. That's the one thing I loved about the DC Extended Universe over Marvel. Marvel makes science fiction, action, adventure, comedy films with the Marvel superheroes. They don't make superhero or comic book movies. They make science fiction, action, adventure, comedy films with Marvel characters in them. The only comic book movies close to comic book movies they made were Iron Man 1, the Avengers Thor, and Doctor Strange, Ant-Man and Spider-Man, and of course Civil War and Winter Soldier. These were the only things close to comics. They ground everything in realism. In the comic books, Falcon, one of my favorite characters, he has a bird, and he acquired his powers through fantasy means. He's like a Marvel version of what they call a metahuman in the DC universe. What's his name? He's like Angel. He's a metal version. He's a metahuman version instead of being a mutant. In the MCU, he's just a guy with robotic wings, and his red wing, his bird is a machine. Yeah, see, they ground everything into realism. They ground everything into realism. DC doesn't do that. They take anything, no matter how fantastic it is. They take it or him or her, and put him in the film. Enchantress. That's a character. How you saw Enchantress in Suicide Squad. That's Enchantress in the comic books. in the comic books, and you had the Suicide Squad, which I like, which I consider, if I had to choose, was probably one of the best DCEU films. But that's the one that's so right there. They had the action. Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf. While I had problems with his motivations, he as a character, the voice, the CGI, the fighting and everything was just epic. Next is the characters. All of the characters, excluding Flash and Aquaman, were good, with Cyborg being the best. With Cyborg being the best. Wonder Woman and Batman, they were okay here. They were okay here. They were better in the previous movies. Wonder Woman was better in her movie and in Batman v Superman. Superman the same. He was better in his movie and Batman v Superman. Um, um, I loved I think his name is J.K. Simmons. Jameson, Jameson from the Joe Jonah Jameson from the Spider-Man, from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. He was awesome as Commissioner Gordon, one of the best actors in the film besides Irons. Um, um, Ben Affleck, he was okay. He was kind of wooden. He was okay here. I thought he was better in Suicide Squad and in BVS. Um, Flash, I did not like Ezra Miller's portrayal of Flash. Costume and any action sequence with him was awesome. I also did not like Jason Momoa's portrayal and what they portrayed Aquaman as. His costume and action sequences were awesome, but those were two of the weakest characters in the film. Cyborg, much to my surprise, who was kind of just here because he was the to impress SJW people, the SJW, the social justice warriors. Cyborg was the best and most relatable character in this movie. I actually can't wait for a Cyborg film. I'm not in a hurry to see a Flash or Aquaman film after seeing their performances here, but I'm actually in a hurry to see a Cyborg film. He was awesome. Ray Fisher was awesome as Cyborg. And it was spot on with the comic books too. I knew Ray Fisher would be good, but I didn't know he'd be the best in the film. I thought he was the best of the superheroes in the film. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were okay to me, and I didn't like the character portrayals, the characterizations of Flash and Aquaman. But Cyborg was the best superhero. So yeah, so pretty much the best thing so far, the CGI, the action sequences, and the performances, especially the performance of Ray Fisher, Cyborg. Next thing, speaking of CGI and stuff, love awesome costume design. No remakes into live action. No, they took these characters as they looked in the New 52 and they inserted them here in the film. That's what I love about DC. They literally bring the comic books to life. They make superhero movies. I love I love the new costume and the new blasters he had. I was hoping he would bring back the bat suit, the metallic suit he had in the last film. He had something even cooler. Um in this film. The last thing that saved this film, in my opinion, the last thing that saved this film was the post-credit scene. There were two. There was one with I think it was I didn't see this one. I didn't care for it, but I heard there was one with Flash and Superman racing. I didn't care much for that. Then the one I saw with Jesse Eisenberg, who also saved this film. I was also disappointed he didn't have a bigger role in this film like I expected him to. But his post-credit scene showing him looking just like Lex Luthor from the comics and the previous Superman movies, with Deathstroke looking like his comic book counterpart, and the Injustice video game and the Arrow television series, and with Luthor talking about building his own team, which will be a much better Justice League film than this. The post credit scene had an idea for a much better Justice League film than this Justice League right here, than this Justice League movie right here. So those were all of the positives. I can't wait for a sequel to this. I can't wait for the standalone Batman film, and of course, I can't wait for wait for can't wait for, after seeing a little bit of Green Lantern action here, I can't wait for the Green Lantern, and I also can't wait for Cyborg after how he stole the show. He was the best character in this movie. Flash, Aquaman, and Shazam, I'm not in a hurry to see after what I saw in this movie. What I saw in this movie. So yeah, that was the good. Now let's get to the bad. And the first bad thing is the storyline. It's weak. It's weak. Of course, it was something about thousands of years, 2,000 years ago. Steppenwolf tried to conquer Earth with the three mother boxes. And the storyline, when I read the screenplay earlier this year, I couldn't wait. And the trailers and stuff, the first trailer really wasn't that good. The second one was awesome. The second one was awesome, and I didn't watch any more trailers because I didn't want to spoil any of the other movies. I didn't want to spoil any more of the movies, but yeah, the storyline was so 2,000 years ago, Steppenwolf tried to conquer Earth with the uses of the mother boxes, but a group of warriors, Atlanteans, Amazonians, humans, the what are they called again? Hold on, I'm back on what's his name. What are they called again? Yeah, Olympians. Yeah, Olympians, and of course the Green Lanterns repelled Steppenwolf and his army, and the mother boxes were separated and hidden in different locations. In the present day, Aquaman owns one of the boxes, and one of the boxes is a part of Cyborg, and Steppenwolf wishes to find each of them. He successfully locates Aquaman, ambushes him, and steals his mother box. Then he ambushes Cyborg and his father, but fails. He successfully defeats him, but fails to acquire the mother box. We later learn the mother box summons Steppenwolf back to Earth after the Earth was in fear after the Earth was in a state of fear from Superman, from the death of Superman. It summoned Steppenwolf and his parademon armies who react and attack fear. But that's the problem I have with it right there. Of course, I was disappointed that first of all, Steppenwolf, from the way BVS built him up, he had some kind of connection to Luthor. And once again, I was disappointed that Luthor was in prison for most of the film. His escape to prison was after this battle. It was after this battle. I hate how he didn't have, after the way they hyped him up in the last one. I hate how Steppenwolf had nothing to do with Lex Luthor. Also, the problem with Steppenwolf being banished from Earth to waiting 2,000 years to attack Earth again. What stopped him from coming to Earth? I saw one negative review that I love. I think his name, it's RNS Entertainment, where this guy says Steppenwolf was a combination of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, and of course this one right here, one of my favorite bad guys, Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. But now the Lord of the Rings I don't remember, but Shao Kahn had to win 9 Mortal Kombat tournaments in order to enter. Had to win 10 Mortal Kombat tournaments. He won 9, but had to win 10 Mortal Kombat tournaments to enter Earth Realm. What was stopping Steppenwolf from entering Earthrealm? And in the comic books, it was much more simple. Steppenwolf was a right hand general, a lieutenant to in Darkseid's 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 um army. In this film, he's an exile warrior trying to prove himself and escape the servitude of his cruel master, Darkseid. Darkseid, and he wants to come to Earth, and this is the second problem I have with Steppenwolf character. He wants to use the mother boxes to destroy, um, to destroy or rule. I would say destroy Earth, but he never makes it clear. He never makes it clear which is his goal and the destroying part. I usually hate it when villains want to want to destroy the world unless there's a good reason and a good motivation or it really suits their characters. Here, Steppenwolf should be much more, but here he's just a big, strong villain to fight, and they get the strong villain to fight before they fight Darkseid, and they really got to stop doing that with films. This is one of the problems I've actually started to have with superhero films that are connected through universes. This is where comic books and television series, whether they be animated or live action, is better. The Arrowverse on on the CW with Flash, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl is as that whole universe is way better than this cinematic DC universe. Much better storylines, despite having better characters and better villains and better build up and everything, despite having a much lower budget than this franchise right here. But let's continue. Let's continue. So yeah, that's the problem I have. He wants to use the mother boxes to destroy Earth. Why not just rule, conquer, and just rule Earth? Conquer and rule. Why is he trying to destroy Earth? And by him destroying Earth, what does that really prove? So that's the problem I have with Steppenwolf. Just we should be a much better character, just being a strong villain for the Avengers to fight. I'm not the Avengers, but for the Justice League to fight. Just like Apocalypse and X-Men, and just like Rita Repulsa earlier this year in Power Rangers. Just a big, strong villain for them to fight. Um, yeah, yeah, he what he tries to what's his name? Then the Justice League, Wonder Woman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, um, fight Steppenwolf, but they can't stop him. They can't stop him, so they use one of the mother boxes. They use one of the mother boxes to resurrect Superman. And this right here was also disappointing. The resurrection of Superman was also disappointing. Not only did he not have the black attire and the long hair, which I was also disappointed that the heroes resurrected Superman. I was hoping Steppenwolf would obtain Superman's body, and use Superman, the Earth's symbol of hope and justice, as a villain, as a tool against them, as a tool against him. And no, they didn't do that. It was actually rushed. Flash did some running drill. Superman was resurrected, but there was something off with his resurrection. Chose to die, even though he chose to even though he chose to die, he held a grudge against Batman and Wonder Woman for supposedly what was it? They let him die even though he chose to die. There was no other way. He chose to die, and they supposedly wouldn't let him they wouldn't let him die. And then Batman's backup plan, which I had a problem with. I had no problem with Lois being involved, but I had a problem with the fact that this was Batman's plan to involve Lois to calm Superman down. I was hoping Superman would be evil himself, will be under the control of Steppenwolf, under control of Steppenwolf, and he would fight the Justice League. But then before he could kill or severely injure any of the Justice League members, um, Lois, Lois would, Lois, Lois would come. Lois would drive. Lois and Martha would drive there and convince Superman and remind Superman of who he is, and then this Justice League together will fight and repel Steppenwolf's army. Now they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They had Superman. I enjoyed the Superman versus Justice League fight. Like I said, all of the action sequences were awesome. The scene where Superman asked Batman, do you bleed? And Batman was like, yep, I'm gonna bleed. That was hilarious. Then when Superman had Aquaman and Wonder Woman in the air, you see Flash running, you see Superman, I see you, looking at him, looking at him. He quickly goes over there and tries to fight Flash. Flash dodges all the punches but can't escape Superman's epic shoulder block. Shoulder block, and knocks him on the ground. Knocks him on the ground before going back to and choking Batman. This is where Lois interferes. Awesome scene. Awesome scene here. Then you got the final battle, epic. The final battle. Only problem with the final battle was Cyborg, who was the best character in this film. Didn't kick as much butt as I expected him to, despite him probably being besides after Wonder Woman being the most powerful member there. He didn't kick as much butt as I expected, but he still got to fire some blasters and do some cool cool stuff. Come to think of it, he got Yamcha in this film. Yamcha, that's a reference, tribute, and joke when someone to the Yamcha character from Dragon Ball franchise, when a character gets beat up or killed in a easy or terrible fashion. And so yeah, he didn't get to do much, but action sequences were awesome. Aquaman, like I said, Jason Momoa. Every time he spoke, he got on my nerves. I not like Aquaman. They tried to make him and Flash hip millennials, and they try to make Aquaman like Thor, Thor, and it was just annoying. All right, and every time Momoa spoke, he got on my nerves. During the epic battle sequences at the end, he's like, "You recognize that smell?" And yeah, fear. I had a problem with that. First off, he wasn't present for the scene. He wasn't present in the earlier scene where they established that fear brought Steppenwolf here, so he shouldn't have been able to make that reference. And it was awesome. The fight was awesome. Everyone played their roles right, but then he had to open his mouth. Flash, his jokes were terrible. I wanted him in Aquaman to up until the final battle. I wanted them to get killed. They were annoying in this film, and because of that, I'm not really looking forward to seeing an individual film with these two because of how annoying they were. The costume and action sequences between these characters were awesome, but these guys were just annoying, man. So yeah, love the final battle. Love the final battle, especially when Superman came there, and then Steppenwolf was like, "This is my right," and this is where Aquaman ruined it by saying you recognize that smell. The parademons attacked Steppenwolf, and he was absorbed back into the blue thing. At first, I had a problem with this, but Steppenwolf, he was teleported away. He wasn't killed. But since they didn't kill him, I don't have a problem with it. And I'm interested in seeing him again in the future. Yeah. So like I said, pretty good film. My only problem with this film was this entire film was just generic, bland, and forgettable. And Justice League should not be that. That's not what Justice League should be. It is. Now, you'll forget about it as soon as you're done watching. You didn't have the same impression when I saw the other DCEU films. pretty much what I'm trying to say is the payoff wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. The payoff wasn't as good as I hoped. The payoff wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. The journey getting to Justice League was better. Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman even more were a better Justice League movie than this one was. What than this movie right here was. And they haven't even made 700 million at the box office yet. At the box office yet. Yeah, those were my issues with Justice League, and one of the reasons this review took so long. Well, and like I said, all the performances were good. However, I thought Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck were better in their previous films. So were Urza Millie. That brief sequence with him and Boomerang and Suicide Squad was way better than Flash. Was way better than any of Flash stuffs here. Ray Fisher, much to my surprise, was the best character. Was the best superhero. Best characters were him, Gordon, J.K. Simmons as Gordon, and of course Jeremy Irons as Alfred, and of course I know it's Liam Neeson. I keep forgetting who Steppenwolf's. I keep forgetting the name of Steppenwolf's actor, but he was good too. He was good too. Loved the CGI of Steppenwolf. Loved the motion capture, and it was awesome, man. Steppenwolf was awesome. I just wish he would have been a better written written villain, So, but yeah, badass badass movie. Yeah, just not as good. It's not as good. It's not as good or as powerful as I had hoped it would be. It didn't have the impression on me that I expected it to have. Like I said, as soon as you're done watching it, it's watchable. I've watched it about 7 times already, but you'll quickly forget about everything. Um, you'll quickly forget about everything in the film. Yeah, this was Justice League. Well, I'm done. Thor Ragnarok is coming next. I reviewed Justice League first because I was more interested in Justice League than I was Thor. Alright, I'm done.